please visit my website, programtokill.net. Go to plans and prices for even more exclusive information. You can also support me now on Patreon. Add me on TikTok. And leave a like and comment. I'm back with a mystery man. Thank you for being back, mystery man.
Thank you. It's been quite a while.
It's a long time ago. But we're gonna try to discuss the case of Joran van der Sloot and Natalee Holloway, and it will be very difficult. The points of views and circumstances and speculations, but we're gonna try to make an effort to give the story. It will be several parts because it's way too much to discuss in one video. But let's just scroll down a little bit and we can just jump in if you want to say something.
No, go ahead.
The Wizard of Oz was Natalee Holloway's favorite film. Now we know, of course, about the symbolism in that movie.
Those type of movies I think are associated with mind control.
And she had like her whole room filled up with this stuff, so
yeah, it's definitely some sort of mind control. I'm not sure. You know, I just think that the Holloway family is just they're a strange family. I'm just gonna put it like that.
Yeah. And also, actually, the Joran van der Sloot, they're both eccentric families, yeah.
Yeah, very, very eccentric. You know, the van der Sloots live very openly. They do a lot of things that's not considered, normal for like families. One thing that comes up is when Joran van der Sloot's parents are talking to Natalee Holloway's mother, and they're openly talking about Joran's sex life. It's not a usual thing to be discussing that, especially when, he's responsible for Natalee's disappearance. And it just was when I heard that when Greta Van Susteren talked about that, that really struck me really, really like strange.
Absolutely, I think that's also the main topics we're gonna discuss, and the drugs, also the mafia, prostitution even. There are a lot of things that people don't know, but are actually true. We have all the source material, all the links, so we can definitely state our claims here.
Yeah.
And also the stepfather of Natalee Holloway, I also think is a pretty dubious character.
Yeah, he was, I believe, some sort of entrepreneur, or he was wealthy. I know he had political connections up to the White House, and there's rumors that he was sexually abusing Natalee, and he's just one of those people that it's sort of weird because the mother, they split up, and it was just like so weird. Like it didn't feel like I you know what I felt in that moment when they talked about they were divorcing, it felt like almost like the relationship was fake.
Yeah, and also she dated later the father of John Benet Ramsey.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can't make it up. You can't make it up. It's just very, very strange.
And I think also Beth Holloway was like linguistic, right? She was teaching to speak. How do you say? She,
Um, uh,
linguist.
like a language
Yeah,
teacher.
language teacher. So she had definitely had her way with words that we always could witness in all her press conferences.
Yeah, she knew how to speak on
Yeah.
when she's being interviewed.
That's
And,
also
and
will be a very big topic of discussion. That this case was also like one of the first psyops with really handling a story to push a sort of official narrative with players involved that were actually involved in this story, but there were way more people involved in this story, and they didn't get any.
no, they didn't. They were mentioned, but then they would be mentioned in it, and then all of a sudden they were removed from the narrative, and then they were re-added back to the narrative. It seemed like they were doing things in a confusing way to push forward the official story.
Yeah, because there are also like we will discuss that of course later, but a lot of timeline manipulations that they always said like Joran van der Sloot met Natalee only like a few hours before she went missing, like half a day, and we have like reports that he was actually seeing her the first day or second day she was arriving at the island. So these are important clues to really uncover, I think, this tragedy, how the media will call it.
There was I remember reading that Natalee had connected with some of Joran's friends on social media,
Oh yeah, yeah, that is correct.
and
I
that's
think
a sign that this wasn't just just a they just met.
I think also her cousin or brother-in-law also went to the island a few weeks before she actually went. That's also
Yeah,
very weird. So I
yeah.
think of the Twitty's family. No, or was it Dave Holloway? I think Dave Holloway family. I don't know for sure.
Hmm.
That's a little bit blurry. And I think this is a very interesting statement that their aunt Marcia Twitty later stated. If it all gets out, we're all going down, including Natalee. I mean, that's a pretty cryptic statement.
Yeah, everybody was doing damage control there. It was obvious. Even I believe the people that she went down to Aruba with was part of a complicit in this.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
Those
I feel
chaperones
like this whole
were.
I feel like this whole this trip was some sort of
I actually,
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
it is
spec.
difficult to say. I actually started to believe there was like a sort of game, a sort of plan in this whole certain event. It was not actually, I think, accidental. There was like something really being set in motion. Unfortunately, I think.
Yeah, I say that there was something more to this trip because one of the one of the people she went on the trip with got a call from a massage parlor,
Yeah,
and I found and knowing like if you even do like a uh, a halfway decent research job on this case, you'll see that massage parlors play a big role in this.
definitely. She got that call when she was staying in the Holiday Inn, yeah, for a massage. If she wants to come by to receive a massage, and I also know the place. I don't know if I should say that on the air, but it's a place on Aruba that's doing it.
Yeah, I believe one of Joran's friends may have been working there.
Yes, also I'm of the opinion of that, but we will go into that later. For definitely, that will be.
Mhm.
And these are the I think the third of the, especially Lorenzo from Rijn, is a important suspect. He was associated with drug trafficking and arms in Also gun trafficking, I think. Guido Wever is an apprentice croupier from the Excelsior Casino. He was the night that Natalee was playing cards, blackjack at the table with Joran van der Sloot, also allegedly Paul van der Sloot. He was also in the casino, but it was always denied that he was actually on the same table as Joran van der Sloot and the Mountain Brook girls.
Yeah, I do remember that there's some video footage that's kind of grainy, and you see a person sitting at the table with Natalee and Joran.
It really looks like Paul, like really.
That really looks like Paul. I can't say it's Paul,
No.
but it looks like Paul.
And also, excuse me, also another character, Guido Wever. He was a Dutch individual, and he had more than a platonic relationship with Joran. Joran van der Sloot had also a homosexual tensions, and
yeah, I've always believed that he was bisexual.
Yeah.
Because he always seemed to surround himself with guys. Like his entire crew was guys. Sometimes women, but mostly men.
I think it also started with his employment at certain parts of the island, but we will discuss that later. I think that's
yeah, for sure.
And this is a very interesting person, Geoffrey van Croimvoirt. He was also a Dutchman living in Aruba, and he was also thought he was selling ecstasy on the island, and he was also from a patrol. I forget now the patrol, but we discuss that later. And they also found a shirt at the lighthouse from his patrol organization. So this guy is definitely, and they always denied each other knowing each other, Joran van der Sloot and the Croimvoirt family, but I think that's impossible. That's impossible to.
No, I think
that's bullshit, man.
I think they were all well associated with each other. I also believe Geoffrey van Croimvoirt was also, there was rumors that he was lovers with Lorenzo van Rijn.
No, not with Lorenzo van Rijn, but I can recall reading statements that he was actually seen with Natalee Holloway in a jewel store, and also that she was in love with a blonde-haired, blue-eyed beach guard, and that was exactly him.
But I also read, I believe reading, it may have been a different way they said it, but I do know that Lorenzo van Rijn and van Croimvoirt lived together.
Oh, you should send me that info. I've never read that somewhere that I can recall.
Yeah, I remember reading that. I could be wrong. And you know what? You're right. Actually, Geoffrey van Croimvoirt, he was...
There's really a big connection with Lorenzo van Rijn and Joran van der Sloot, but we discussed that later.
But this Geoffrey van Croimvoirt, yeah, you're right. Now I remember that. Sorry about that.
I
remember now that there was actually, I mixed it up.
No, but it's not actually. We can discuss it a little bit. There have certainly been stories that there was actually some kind of group that would call themselves the Pimps, the Pimpology crew, and I think one of those guys was Geoffrey van Croimvoirt, and also Joran van der Sloot and brother Kalpoe and other people, and they were actually hunting down these ladies and vulnerable women to photograph and film.
No, actually, now that I'm saying it, Geoffrey van Croimvoirt, he seemed to, you know what? Now I remember. He was
a mama's boy. He was tried to be a big shot, but he wasn't.
No, but I believe he was similar. He did similar things like Joran did.
Yes, I think, yeah, of course. He was a womanizer. He was a good-looking guy. He definitely had some game, and he was exploiting that.
Right, he was doing stuff like that, and also that I you know where it is. I read that Lorenzo van Rijn and van Croimvoirt, there may have been a connection because they were friends to the drug trafficking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I also have that.
Yeah.
And it's really weird that when Natalee Holloway was in the car with the brother Kalpoes, she said that Hitler, her mother was Hitler's sister.
Yeah.
What do you make of that
And
statement? What do you think? An American saying that to some boys on the island?
that's a little wild. That's a little wild. But I will contend that I say that she was also pretty drunk that night. But
Yeah.
I've
And
always
she was fucking drugged. I know for sure. She was drugged.
drugged and
They
drunk,
drugged
and
her.
yeah, they drugged her and she was drunk, so she could have been saying things, all sorts of crazy shit.
She was drinking Bacardi 151, which has an alcohol percentage of 75%. Fucking insane.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's. I mean, that's a good way to get wrecked. Very good way to get wrecked. And I'm not trying to maybe be funny about it, but
no,
it was
so,
obvious she was there to party
Yeah.
with Joran and the rest of the pimps.
No, but it's also there are also like a lot of conflicting stories about Natalee's behavior on the island. Some people say she would like drink in the morning until the evening every day. It was pretty insane, wild. She was like drinking like the whole time.
Yeah, it kind of gives off that Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, and also like an individual, a teenager that is really like screaming for attention is really like in problems, in trouble. I mean, why do you have to drink from the morning till the evening, like 4 days, 5 days when you're there? I think there were 4 days there. 3 days,
right.
4 days.
Yeah, it makes me think that the stuff about Twitty sexually abusing her was true.
Yes, I'm also of the opinion of that, and I think that was also like one of the main things of the construction of this whole plan of setting these people up. And it is really weird, man. What we said earlier, there's so many advantage points to see this information, and but we're gonna try to bring it in a coherent way, hopefully.
Yeah, I really think that listen, the story is it's clear what was going on here. And I wonder what these high schools that were taking these trips, down to Aruba, like especially this once the school she went to, Mountain Brook.
Yep.
It's a private school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are these private schools being used to?
There were also actually statements made that people know, like really on the record, that Natalee was buying cocaine and using it.
Yeah, I read that too, and I'm under the belief she was dealing with some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that for a fact. I can't say, I'm speculating, but it's like there's a lot of red flags that suggest that she was dealing with some sort of trauma.
Yeah, it's insane. I also have the FBI 302 statements, not like the everything complete, but some statements from the Mountain Brook people in school, high schoolers that are making statements, so people can check that out. But another very interesting person is Steve Croes, from the DJ Tattoo boat.
Yes, he pops up in another story as well.
What was the last thing you read about the tattoo boat? Who bought that?
The last thing I read about the tattoo boat, and I'm probably going to post it in the thread either later or tomorrow, is that the tattoo boat was sold to somebody in Eastern Europe.
Ah, a possible human trafficking, maybe
Yeah, I believe that this was a private boat. This tattoo. This was not a cruise. This was not like a commercial cruise. This was a private, boat that people went on and partied in.
And it's weird because Steve Croes was one of the individuals that was actually providing an alibi for the brother Kalpoes and Joran van der Sloot, and later admitted that he lied, and later said or stated that he didn't know Joran van der Sloot and the Kalpoe brothers. Or only the Kalpoe brothers, but not Joran van der Sloot. And a lady admitted, saying, yeah, I do know. It's really weird.
Right.
There's so many misinformation and disinformation, people making false reports. It was fucking insane, man. They really tried to destroy like the whole timeline and create a new timeline, so that will be the official narrative.
Yeah, that's what they did. They would throw disinformation. They would throw in, this guy was involved, then that guy wasn't involved, and this guy was arrested, but no, we released him. So it was just a constant, like, confusion. It was chaos.
Yes.
You didn't know what was true and what was false.
Yeah. But we do know that there was also another girl vanishing from the tattoo boat, and her name was Amy Bradley. Do you want to maybe say something about that mystery man?
Yeah, Amy Bradley was, I believe she ended up going on a commercial. I believe it was a commercial.
With her parents, right? Yeah.
With her parents and her brother. And the whole, like, the time they were on the boat, she was developing, like, men were getting interested in her, particularly at dinner. And they asked her if you wanted to come over to go to Paulus and Charlie's, and she rebuffed that, and she felt like the men were weird, that she didn't feel comfortable, but she ended up going to the club on the boat that night, and she ended up dancing with Steve Croes.
I don't know for sure if she was dancing with Steve Croes. She was dancing with another person from a music band. His name was Yellow, and we also have video footage of that. Her last night, fucking insane.
Yeah, but she was dancing with somebody in that footage that looked like him.
Yeah, but it wasn't.
I can't say 100% it was him, but it suspected it was him.
But it's really crazy. I mean, people did research and they found an Aruba sex website for getting escorts, and they actually found like pictures of a girl that is really looking like Amy Bradley, and we also have a picture of her here, and she was seen in Carlos and Charlie's in 2005, the same year that Natalee Holloway disappeared, in the same place. Natalee Holloway disappeared also after being in Carlos and Charlie's. I mean, this is really like...
Yeah, and what's weird about that is about Amy Lynn Bradley being at Carlos and Charlie's, is that we were told, based on the narrative, that she rebuffed rebuffed going to Carlos and Charlie's.
Yeah.
So like, there's something missing.
Also, even people in the casino made statements that they were convinced that Natalee Holloway was an alcoholic because she was drinking like the whole time, and she was like asking like for more liquor in her cup instead of like a little bit of soda, a little bit of Coca-Cola. But she only wanted the liquor always.
Yeah, which kind of doubles down on the fact she was dealing with some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
Because she's literally going out of her way for attention.
So that evening, I think there was also like a big festival, the Soul Beach Festival with Jean Wycliffe was also there. That was a big, but we also discussed that later. And she also went there. I found a picture of her, but we will scroll to that later. And then later she went to the casino, the Excelsior Casino, and she met, to the according to the official narrative, Joran van der Sloot. But I think they met way before. I think her first or second day she already met him. We will discuss that later.
Yeah.
I think it's also very telling and interesting that his own father was there, because his mother, we also have to memorize this, his mother was not in Aruba. She was going to the grandmother in the Netherlands. So the mother was absent from the home. So his two younger brothers were in the home. So that makes it maybe a little bit less likely that something actually happened in the Vandersloot residence. But we don't know for sure. I think there's still a lot of questions to be raised, especially with certain search warrants that were not carried out properly. That's really frustrating to actually think that something is lying there in the garden, or there are at least something else, some other things in the household of the Vandersloot that couldn't be investigated. They only got a search warrant of the property of Joran Vandersloot, which was like a closed off cabin, a little bit of like a construction apart from the house itself. So
yeah, and I found that really weird.
it is really weird, man. You can go all the directions. It's insane, man. It's really insane.
He wasn't living in a house, but he was living in a little,
But
like
I
a
also,
pool house, like a pool house.
yeah, just near the pools. They also had a pool, yeah. But I
Yeah.
also read that it was more of the fact that he actually displayed some kind of like, let's say, physical abuse against his younger brothers. He was like very anger management problems, and he was of course, 17 years old back then. So he was making a transgression of becoming a man. How do you say? Adolescence.
Right.
So, but still, that's not an excuse, of course, if you fucking beat up your brothers. But still,
No,
that's
no,
insane.
no. He was. I think he was a problem child.
Yes,
I
he
think
definitely was. There are also
he.
allegations, apparent clues that he owned a paintball gun and he actually shot maybe his own dog to death.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that story, and it wouldn't surprise me. He had deep rooted anger problems. Um, I imagine that, like, I'm speculating here. I just think he probably flew into rages.
Yeah, some kind of maybe dissociative actually.
Yeah, I believe he may have been he disassociated, maybe multiple personality. We really don't know. It makes me wonder if he was abused himself. I'm not excusing his behavior, but usually it goes hand in hand.
But he was the son of like a trainee judge. His
Yeah.
father was a very well-known. I'm at the loss of words now to say.
Yeah, no, he was basically he was working his way to becoming a judge on the island.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the reason why they didn't execute the search warrant properly.
Yeah, but like I said before, there certainly has to be then something lying there in that house that couldn't be investigated. So maybe it was actually something totally different from the Natalee Holloway case. But still, I want to know then what the fuck that was.
Right. Exactly. Like, what was in there that was so had to keep the lid on?
Yeah, was it the body? Was it drugs? Was it certain pornography?
Yeah. Remember, the Kalpoe brothers and Joran called his dad to help him.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I know for sure. I also know that they did taking evidence from the computers, from the computer in the house itself, so that the father and mother used, and also the brothers, the younger brothers. And there were keywords on Google like overdose, alcohol ingestion, drugs, things like that. So someone in that same evening was looking up those words, what they meant and what you have to do if that's happening. So that's fucking insane.
Yeah,
I also don't know why something that is not allowed in court or is really gonna will be like. Someone has to explain that.
Right, and it makes like I said. Remember, they called, Joran and the Kalpoe brothers went to, Paul Vandersloot in the middle of the night to help them with something.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder if they were looking. Maybe there was something happened with Natalee that they were trying to like reverse, or she died, and they brought the body there and he didn't know what to do with it. I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this.
Also, other things. I think also what people don't know about this case is that gambling is a big factor in this case. It's also about money. It's also about like corruption, about the island of Aruba itself. I mean, you don't want to know the papers that I've read about money laundering, and one of the first countries that's actually like independently owned by the Mafia itself. It's fucking insane. And Joran van der Sloot was also like totally obsessed. He was only like 17 years old when he was being arrested. He was like totally obsessed with playing poker, with betting, with gambling, with playing your odds. He had like maybe it's not everywhere verified, but he had like credits at the casinos, the Excelsior casinos. Really like big credits. Some people say like $50,000 or even $200,000.
Yeah, and there was also...
And he was only 17 years old. How can he be like drinking there and showing up in the casinos? I know he's a local, but still, what is this?
Right. I wonder personally if my thinking on this is that, first of all, Joran had a credit line with that at the Excelsior.
No.
He had a credit line at the Excelsior. What 17-year-old anybody do you know has a credit at a major casino?
I don't know anybody, and I also not have read it on the internet quite often.
No. So like, why was he gambling? Was he in debt to somebody? Was he trying to pay somebody back? Was the family trying to pay somebody back? I mean,
yeah, I think maybe we can already say it a little bit. I think it, let's say delicately, hopefully. I think it was like an interchangement with providing women, providing girls, and the manufacturing of pornography and child pornography.
Yeah, I also believe that it could be also debt that's involved in this too.
Yeah. Also,
I believe,
but
because remember
also,
when all these hotels are owned by in Aruba, like the major ones are owned by the Mafia.
Yeah.
And usually there's people that go to the Mafia for loans.
No, we also hopefully gonna discuss some of these individuals who own these places, and they're all are friendly or a little bit connected with all of the players in the Natalee Holloway case. So that's also a little bit of a red flag. And
yeah, it's a very, and remember the island is like 8 miles.
yeah,
I'm at the belief at this point, knowing what I know about the case, is that everybody has run across everybody on that island.
exactly. It is like highly unlikely that you say, no, I've never seen that guy. I've never heard about him. I never knew his name. I never. That's bullshit.
No, like Mr. Pink. You ever ran across Joran van der Sloot? No. Yeah, I don't believe that.
It definitely seemed that they were in the same enterprises. So it is not like a weird question to ask. Of course, they're in the same enterprises.
But how quickly he answered that.
Yeah, man. Of course, you can definitely also with the conversation with Steve Croes from the Tattoo Boat. If you really hear his voice and his explanations for that evening, it's really like you really hear a frightening man lying.
Right. The story is far-fetched. It makes no sense.
And I think also we can discuss a few other people who are like members of the Pimpology crew. Those guys who are just hunting down vulnerable young females, and then hopefully that's also actually a common fact. We can say that also in other documentaries they're doing that. There are certain reports that they were taking like girls and young girls to the hotels, book the room, and had sex, and were actually videotaping that also. So what happened with those videotapes? What happened with those exchanges of? There's a lot more. I can also recall that's now, I think 8 years ago, that there was like a prison interview with Joran van der Sloot, and he was saying that he was writing a book that is 500, 600 pages, and now we have a book of Joran van der Sloot. I'm reading it, but it's like a total whitewashed story, and there are maybe some interesting things I'm gonna share later, but still it's not the book that he was writing. It's definitely not 500-600 pages of really the stuff that he wanted to talk about, what I'm gonna say now. And that's actually that that he always received a lot of money, and the reasons were that he was keeping his mouth, that he was really like saying to people, you have to give me money, you have to give me money, otherwise I'm gonna say things that will involve certain people and certain institutions, things like that. Also the fact that he said people don't know actually about how I always earn my money. I also earn my money through the internet. And then he stops. But I think the internet he's also implying with selling of pornography.
Yeah, I believe that's what he was doing. I think there was the mixture of like blackmail and then selling pornography to various companies.
Yeah. You have some investigators who give like little clues. They say like 3 or 5 lines about it, and then they will digress to the official narrative. But still, we have a lot more information to support that claim.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there now. There wasn't back in 2005.
Here, the guy, one of his closest friend that was actually living in the same neighborhood, same street as himself, Freddy Zedan, and he was also called the local man pimp and involved in making porn films. So we have also like reports that he was photographing and filming and possibly distributing images and videos of this stuff. Jaime, also another. I think he was from South America, or he was a Aruba native. Jaime.
It was Freddy, the Zedan. I believe one of them was Jaime Carrasquilia.
Yeah.
Who was, huh?
No, I said yes.
And I believe Jaime was a Colombian that just happened to live on Aruba. Yep. And you're going to notice that too. There's a lot of Colombians that live in Aruba.
Yep. And
I believe there was also this other kid, Koen
Gottenbos. He is a Dutch person.
Who actually ended up, coming to the United States and being educated here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You looked it up, one of the colleges.
Here in the U.S., he was educated. He went to school here. Was a tennis player.
Yeah, and Joran was also a fanatic tennis player. And actually pretty good. He was not bad. But he's also fucking big, man. He's 6'6", 6'7".
Yeah.
He was like 70 years old and he already weighed like 200 pounds, so.
Yeah.
And also, not forget his other friend, Andre Santos. But I don't know for sure if he was actually involved in it even. I don't think so. I don't actually think so. I haven't found anything that... But he was a member of the group, like partying and being with each other. But...
Right, and just because you hung out with a certain group doesn't mean you were involved in these crimes.
And also, actually, everything you can say could be alleged and reportedly, but still, we try to give the source material here, the people who said it and where it was said and where it was being.
I believe Freddy, Jaime, and Koen were the 3 people that would go up to hotels and make porn.
Yeah, also the Kalpoe brothers, Satish and Deepak.
Yeah, the Kalpoe brothers. I believe they were from
Suriname.
Yeah, Suriname. Yeah. They were not native.
No.
They weren't born in Aruba.
No, and there were also actually reports, I think they were actually set in Dave Holloway's book or Beth Holloway's book, that they were maybe like being terminated from the island also of sexual approaches to girls, so. But I say allegedly.
Yeah, it just seems like that all these people, because they were from other countries, you can see it's like some sort of a like ring.
Yeah.
When you're getting like people from Suriname and Colombia, and you have some of the Dutch natives over there. It just seems like it was a drug ring, sex ring, and they had various different players from.
Also possibly human trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking.
Arms trafficking, I also think.
Yeah, arms trafficking for sure. Human trafficking definitely, because there was a lot of Colombian women there.
I think the island of Aruba is very close to Venezuela, like very
Yes,
close.
it's very close to Venezuela,
Yeah.
Colombia, and I believe there was a lot of women that were trafficked over there, and there's stories about that.
I also want to make a statement about the other person of interest. He was like the croupier of in the casino of the Excelsior when they're playing blackjack. Guido Wever. He's the son of a politician, and I remembered he's from the Netherlands, but I know the attorney that he got, and that attorney is like if like some politician or some mayor or the queen has a problem, they will get that lawyer. So this guy was really wealthy and really well connected that he had some
Yeah,
that kind of
Guido
attorney.
Wever, he was definitely well connected.
Yeah.
I know for a fact he was not straight. He was gay, and 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 if he's involved allegedly the way he's involved, um, uh, it's sinister because he literally after Natalee disappeared, he was walking around with like superficial scratches on his
Yes,
face.
I wanted to mention that. Thank you then for mentioning. Say.
Yeah, no, he was walking around with superficial scratches on his face. He was even a number one suspect
He,
at the
he he
time.
was he was being interrogated and held for like a couple of days. But I can also recall that actually he left the island of Aruba and went to study in the Netherlands like abruptly, and also left his job at the Excelsior Casino when he was doing his exams to being an official croupier. So it was
Yeah, he
weird, man.
literally
He
like
fled the
during his
island
whole
just like fucking Mr. Pink.
just
He also fled the
that
island just like that.
as soon as he was released by the cops, he was gone.
I think he was actually investigated, interrogated in the Netherlands, not even Aruba. He just fled the country. In like 48 hours, he was gone.
Yeah, he just fled the country and he was interrogated there. They didn't find anything, but it's very, very interesting. He was considered one of the top suspects.
Yeah, I also agreed. And I definitely, we can discuss that later. At the lighthouse, there are certain things that I think happened there with that crew, that they did something. Or it was definitely one of the locations they stopped by to do something weird.
Yeah, you have like the lighthouse there, and then you have the fisherman huts, and the fisherman huts we'll talk about later. But yeah, it was that beach was a very strange area. You could probably get away with a lot of things on that beach.
They're also flashing some signs here, of course.
Yeah, and
The
like almost
pictures.
like lang signs.
Yeah, the gang signs, yeah.
Yeah, or
But
doesn't
they're
look doesn't.
wannabe gangs. They're come on man, they're kids. They're
Oh yeah,
wannabe
no, they
gangs.
were a wannabe gang, but I'm sure in their minds they were a gang.
Oh, definitely. The activities that they were doing, they're fucking hell. You don't want to know. I heard stories about Joran van der Sloot and his partying over there. He was like partying with people and doing things like with people who had like $20 million. They had like houses of $2 million, like fucking insane.
Right. He literally he
Like
partied hard.
on boats of half a million, $1 million. Like really,
Right.
like the most
He
crazy
part this
shit.
yeah, this 17-year-old was partying hard. And he was and there's stories about women he was with, and
Or
it
actually,
almost
no, excuse me.
and it almost feels like in a way he was for sale.
Yeah, I'm saying it wrong. Not even house of like 1 or 2 million. I mean 20 million. That's what I
Right.
heard and read. House of 20 million, really, like insane.
Yeah, I also read that some of these women that that he was with meeting at the club, some of them were older women. Um, yeah, I mean, he sounded like he was for sale, actually.
Yes, yeah. But we're gonna show that show and tell we do. We have the pictures here and the people who said it or the news articles that stated it. So that's
Yeah,
important. These are not loose words that we're trying to set out in cyberspace.
yeah,
And here, several witnesses also said that Natalee used cocaine, yeah. And she was heavily intoxicated. Well, I will also be heavily intoxicated if I would drink at like 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. in the night or 1 a.m. in the next morning. If,
yeah.
if
I
you're
think
if you're if you're
when
like
you
drinking for like 15, 16 hours, you will be pretty fucked up then. Yeah.
yeah, Yeah, listen, there's no. I believe that she was heavily intoxicated.
And
There's too many
even
people
worse,
that
I think she actually stood her ground and she was just making fun and had a good times, but she was fucking drunk, man. And I know for sure in that bar Carlos and Charlie, she slipped her a Mickey.
Oh, for sure. They probably gave her, MDMA.
GHB.
Yeah.
Not MDMA. MDMA is fine, it's nice. GHB is a fucking.
Well, yeah. Same thing. Almost the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, almost.
But yeah, no. They gave her GHB.
Yeah.
And it seemed and no one, and the thing is, no one ever found out where Joran and the pimps were getting the GHB from.
Well, I got a couple of ideas.
I got a couple of ideas too, but the cops never looked into it.
No, but I also read statements that Joran van der Sloot made in prison, that he was in jail, that he said, I can't say anything. And I even received a letter, pieces of paper with written words. And the written words were, don't say anything or we'll kill your family. So that's also insane. He received pieces of paper the few first days he was in custody. Those papers were at the police station, so someone gave it to me. So if you say something, if you're gonna spill the beans, we're gonna kill your family. So that's also insane. He was definitely being threatened by some really corrupt and really official status of that island on that island.
Yeah, gangsters.
Excuse me?
Gangsters.
Yeah, but even worse than that, like
right.
Like a hybrid of politician, gangsters, sociopaths, psychopaths, everything.
Right. The Dutch crown was probably associated with all that, so to make sure he stays in line.
And also, maybe to close this conversation for now, I want to say that a lot of the lawyers that were being handled in this case for the certain suspects, like the brothers Kalpoe and Geoffrey van Croimvoirt, Guido Wever, Joran van der Sloot, those were all really good lawyers. They're all very expensive. I mean, who did pay for all that? That wasn't the Joran van der Sloot family, and those other people weren't that wealthy. So definitely there was some financing to give these people legal assistance in every way they can.
Yeah,
they were being protected.
Didn't Paul van der Sloot supply legal representation for the Kalpoe brothers?
I think he handled their attorneys for them. And he also paid for them.
Right.
So that's no, but really, the van der Sloot was like a little bit upper middle class, but they were definitely not like high society. That's bullshit. They were upper middle class. They were not wealthy. They were not. They were well off. They were comfortable, but
they were comfortable people that had friends in high places.
Yeah. There's also the one last thing then. The mother of Joran van der Sloot, Anita van der Sloot, was employed at the International School of Aruba, where was also the school that Joran van der Sloot went. And she actually said that they could go to school over there for free because she was a teaching aide. She was a teacher assistant, or she was a teacher herself, excuse me. So that was the reason that they could go on that school for free. But I think that's also a little bit of an unusual arrangement. Have you heard that before? That if there's like a teacher who's going to teach at the school, they will say, okay, your 2 sons or your 3 sons or 1 son can go for free now on that school. It's an exclusive international school of Aruba.
No, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that at all.
No, but that's a fact. I think she said that herself, so we can't dispute that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's just a normal thing.
No. So we have really a lot more to discuss. But Mystery Man, thank you so much. I think we are at 60 minutes now, so I think that's okay.
Oh, that's fine.
But we do also the next post, yeah. We can. We have a lot more, so.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing discussing this case.
It will be really interesting because the next posts are really like delving deeper into the pornography system and corruption of Aruba, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And a lot more of Mr. Pink. So I'll watch.
Yeah. We can do this really soon.
Yes, I hope so. Okay, have a good day, man. Later.
You have a good day. Later.
Bye.
Bye.